All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is, what is it today? I believe it's Monday, isn't it? Anyways, I wrote this yesterday, I think. Yeah. And I've already had a mathematician proofread it, one that knows what he's doing. And I believe it actually is very, very sound. It is definitely valid. And I think the premises are correct. And so that makes it valid and sound. So when atheists always ask for, hey, give me a valid and sound proof, here you go. They're always asking that for God, right? And since, I don't believe in God, I'm not going to write a valid and sound proof that there's a God, and I'm going to not write a proof there's a valid and sound proof there's not a God, because I'm agnostic. So I have no interest in that. But I do have an interest in the logic and the philosophy of atheism and the mindset. I'm actually getting interested in the mindset of atheists because I am just blown away at the cognitive dissonance that they have. They'll accept rigor, they'll accept logic, they'll accept reason for things like science and physics and biology, but when it comes to philosophy and the subject of atheism, they have a huge mental block and they will not accept actual logic. It is mind-blowing. It is a phenomenon. So I'm going to be doing this new, well, it's not a new series, but I'm just going to be doing new stuff relating the psychology, the mindset, the psychological mindset of atheists as to opposed to actual reason, because I find that most, if not all, of the new atheists out there lack reason when it comes to subjects like atheism, which is ironic, isn't it? I mean, they self-profess to be atheists, but they know literally nothing about atheism. So anyways, welcome out there. I see Wolf from the Rafters. I see Steve. I see KK. Hey, buddy. Stev again. Kevin Berger, I see. Kevin says, I'm still waiting for empirical evidence of a neurological distinction between not BP and B not P. There are different propositions, but without corresponding neural activity, it's reification fallacy. Go ask a psychologist. I have no interest in that. The psychological states, not going to get into it. I have no interest. Go look up Alan. What is his name? Alan. Oh shit, I'll get it to you later. But a friend of mine, Alan, he gets into a lot of that stuff. But a reification fallacy is a type of hyperstantiation fallacy where you take an abstraction and you treat it as real. I've never done that. So yeah, you're asking the wrong person. It is clear that not having a belief and having a belief are two different things, because one has a positive epistemic status and the other one doesn't. So yeah, you're going to have to ask a psychologist or a neurologist how that maps to brain function. It's not my jam. All right, so let's dive into this. This is called the non-theist is not the same set size as atheists due to sentience of members. Proof by contradiction. And what a proof by contradiction is basically also known as a reductio ad absurdum. It shows that if you start with an initial premise and if you derive a contradiction from that, then the initial premise must be incorrect. Now, the definition I'm using here is from Google. It's straight from Google. I should have put it in my proof, shouldn't I? You think I should put the definition of atheist in my proof? I probably will. I'll add that. But it says a person who disbelieves or lack of beliefs in the existence of God or gods. That's right from Google. Okay, let me see if I can show you guys here. Right here, a person who believes, or I have a hard time scrolling. Can you guys see that? A person who believes or lack of beliefs in the existence of God. Again, I'm not talking about atheism, right? This is why I think this is the most powerful proof I've written yet in some ways, because this one has nothing to do actually with atheism itself, right? It's not talking about whether atheism is a belief or not belief. It's talking about an atheist. I still think my paper is my best proof, obviously. My paper refuting flu. But as far as like a small argument, this one I think is great. So Steve says you probably should use the definition without using the word theist. Well, I'm not using the word theist. I'm using the word atheist. So this is, again, hey, what's up there, JCO? What's up, buddy? Morning. I think you're going to like this one. I think you're going to do a video on this one when I'm done. So stick with me, JCO. I think you're really, really going to like this particular video. So again, I'm going by what atheists do. Google foo. Google foo. Oh, well, let's look at the definition. Okay, definition of an atheist. A person who believes or lack of beliefs in the existence of gods. that means that rocks cannot be atheists according to their definition. I don't even need a proof for that, right? I don't even need a proof for that. That's just, if they're going to say by definition, and they're going to be prescriptivists, which I'm not, and they're going to say, well, by this definition, a rock cannot be atheist, which I've had atheists do, then my proof proves for a fact, not just a belief, but a fact that the set of atheists and the set of non-theists are not the same set size. All non-theists are atheists, but not all atheists. Excuse me, all atheists are non-theists, but not all non-theists are atheists. That is a fact. That is something you can prove mathematically. That's not just mere opinion. If you start with this definition with a person, then rocks cannot be atheist. And then we're gonna get into the proof. Do you guys agree with that so far? So give me some feedback on here, Kevin. Do you guys agree that according to this definition, if we're going to be prescriptivist, a person who disbelieves or lack of belief in God, and by the way, disbelief does mean believes false. It's not saying a person who does not believe or lacks a belief in God. That's not what it's saying. It literally is saying a person who disbelieves as in believes the proposition is false. That's what this definition means. And you go look up the word believe, and that's what it tells you. It's believe false. Okay. So do you guys all accept that? It's a good definition. Okay. You know what? I'm going to agree with you. Just for arguendo. It is descriptive, by the way. This is a descriptive definition. All atheists, in my opinion, in philosophy, believe there's no God, which means they lack a belief in the existence of God. Now, I think it should be and rather than or. I think it should be a conjunction rather than a disjunction here. But it's not a wrong definition. It's as far as it's not inaccurately describing an atheist. All atheists believe there's no God, which means they lack a belief in the existence of God. Now, again, that's just my personal view, right? That's philosophy. But I'm not even arguing that. So don't jump on me for that. You don't have to accept that. It's irrelevant. Just accept this definition for the sake of my argument. A person who disbelieves or lacks beliefs in the existence of God or gods. Okay, so right there, it makes sense to say rocks can't be atheists. All right, then let's look at the logic. Let's follow along the logic here. And like I said, I've had it checked by AI. I had it checked by a mathematician. I'm pretty confident that it is, I would say, pretty much flawless. Hopefully that mathematician's listening in because he's at work. His name's Josh. Great guy. Just a freaking amazing dude. Now, let's start with the assumption. Non-theist is defined as atheist. That's what some lack of belief atheists want. They said that the set of non-theists is exactly the same set as atheist, right? And I'm going to throw that definition in after I'm done. So the purpose of the proof to show that this is a category error. There's a contradiction there. By saying that these are the two step sides. Oh, Josh is listening. Okay. So Josh is a mathematician, smart dude. If there's any errors, he would be happy to point them out. I mean, I'm telling you, the dude is like, hey, Steve, if I find some errors, man, I'm going to shove it up your. I'm like, okay, I got you, man. Don't get all brutal. But yeah, he definitely would show mistakes I make, and I would not want him not to. I mean, if I make an error, I want people to point it out. So far, I think that he agrees with everything. So I say in my initial assumptions, a theist is a set of sentient beings who believe in God. Okay. That again, this is all definitions as per the Atheist Community of Austin. This is all definitions as according to Matt Dillahunty and Aron Ra. I'm using their arguments to show a contradiction. I'm using their definitions to show that if you use their definitions, that you have a contradiction. You have a category error. Now, I will tell you on the onset, somebody's going to say eventually, well, I'm just going to accept rocks are atheists to defeat the argument, like Aron Ra would. Aron Ra argues that rocks are atheist. You can do that, but I will just tell you right up front before I get any further, that does not assail the argument. That does not defeat the argument. I had to think about this. I was talking to Josh earlier, and I was like, if somebody accepts that rocks can be atheist, does it assail the argument? And I thought about it, and I was like, no, it doesn't. The reason why it doesn't is because they're changing the premises of the argument. You cannot do that to assail an argument. You have to address the premises as written in the argument. You can't just say, well, I'm going to substitute your premise for my premise. And so they have to show which premise they don't accept in order to defeat my argument. Which premise is false if they're going to say it's not sound. Which rule of inference doesn't work if they're going to say it's invalid. That's what they have to do to actually assail an argument, not substitute their premises for mine, because I've had atheists do that before, And that's not how you, Josh is an expert at math proof writing, and he's going to help me write better proofs. He just talked about a course that he had taken it. And I can assure you, Josh would agree with me that if you write a proof and your instructor came in and said, you know what, I don't like that premise, I'm going to change your premise to one of my premises, that's not going to work very well. Or if this, or even worse, the instructor gives you a proof and you say, as the student, I don't like that premise, instructor. I'm going to take that premise out. I'm going to put my own premise in. Ergo, now your argument is defeated. Josh, would that be accepted in college? Right? So KK says, in a typical debate, one would have to prove why their premises would be more valid and applicable to your case than your definition. Yes and no. When you say prove, you mean to demonstrate. Yes, you have to argue why your premises are probably correct as opposed to not correct, as opposed to somebody who says your premises are wrong. I'm okay with that. But I will tell you that generally speaking, when you have a proof, the premises are asserted as true. I know a lot of people will give me flack for that, but they don't understand what that means. That means you assume if the premises are true, is the argument correct? That goes to the argument. But then you can say, look, I don't take the assumption that this is true. I think this premise is actually false. Okay. If you don't assume that it's true, why do you think it's false? That's how you assail it. You can't just say, I don't accept your premise. Well, then you're not assailing the argument. Then you're not doing anything. You're doing no work, no heavy lifting whatsoever. Josh is right. Josh is spot on. He says that'd be considered as starting with a false premise. Correct. Because you're not assailing the argument. You're just substituting your own premise. So let's get into this. So far I have a couple assumptions that these are equal. I use the definition of an atheist, which I'm going to put in here. A theist, a set of sentient beings who believe in God. Again, I don't think anybody's going to argue that. That's wrong, right? I mean, if I just constrict theist to a set of sentient beings, that's per definition. If you want to, again, play the prescriptive games, because all persons are sentient. Now, that is a little maybe hidden premise in here. I can grant that, but I think people are smart enough to figure out that if you're a person, you're sentient. I don't think I really need to put that premise in here. Josh can correct me because he does form writing, but I mean, I think that because I'm writing this for the average person, I don't really need to note that people are sentient. I just, maybe I do, but I don't think so. Atheists, a set of sentient beings who do not believe in God. Again, this is the atheist definition. That's their definition, right? They say that atheist, as a person who doesn't believe in God. Okay, let's start with that. Initial assumptions. Non-theist is any element not in the set of theist. That's his basic set theory, which I've included in here and I've proven, right? If you have theist, you have not theist. That has to be true by the law of negation. A or not A is always true. That's a tautology, right? So, yeah. Okay, Josh says, I don't think so either. Yeah, cool. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, it's just not needed. Complementary set relationships. So let's look at the set relationships. Set A and not A are in U. A prime equals universal set, complementary set A. And all that's saying, this is a mathematical way of saying that in the universe, you have a set and then you have a non-set. So in the universe of all things, everything that exists in the universe, I have a duck, and then I have the set of things that are not a duck. So universe, duck, not duck. You can see me highlighting that, right? That's all that's saying. Lemoni says correct. I think it can be safely assumed that any being that can hold a belief is sentient. Right. I think so as well. All right. Then I say assume A prime is substituted by A and A is substituted by T. This turnstile symbol here is a pretty versatile symbol. It's usually used in meta logic or sentential logic. And so this is one of the things you kind of have to infer what I'm meaning by it. It's not inappropriate use of logic. It's just that most people are probably not going to recognize the symbology of a substitution. It just means there's equivalency there. It's a turnstile, it's called. So I'm just saying, assume that A prime is equivalent to A is equivalent to T. I didn't want to use equal signs because that would confuse people and they'll start saying weird things. And it's weird to say not A equals A, right? Because if I would say A prime equals A, somebody's going to say that's a contradiction, right? And it would be a contradiction if you don't understand what I'm talking about. But the equal sign, as Josh, who's a mathematician, would be happy to tell you, doesn't really mean strict equality. It means there's a relationship of properties of the sets. This is something you learn in math. So if I say in ring theory that 0 equals 1, I'm not saying that the value of 0 is the same value as 1. I'm saying that 0 equals 1 is that the multiplicative identity is equal to the additive identity, or I would just say the other way around. The additive identity is equal to the multiplicative identity. That's what I'm saying in ring theory if I say 0 equals 1. But somebody would say, well, your math is wrong. 0 doesn't equal 1. Well, yes, but they're representing different things. This is something you have to be very careful of when dealing with math and symbology and equal signs, because equalities in math in real analysis are dealing with sets mostly. All of this boils down to axiomatic set theory. Josh and I think, talked about this the other day. I think it was with you, Josh. Weren't we talking about von Neumann ordinals? I think it was, and building up axiomatic set structures. But let's go on. So far, so good. And then I say, let A equals the universal set with the complementary set of T. This means that for everything in the universe, everything is either an atheist or theist. This is per Aron Ra. This is per the Atheist Community of Austin. Everything in the universe, it must be an atheist or theist. They say it's a direct dichotomy. Yeah, it was you, Josh. Yeah. Josh, like, you don't remember? I talked to a lot of people. Okay. Mostly, but recently I've been talking to Josh more than most by far. Because I want to make sure that my stuff's correct. All right, so far so good. Now, let's work through the proof. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm still in the assumption stage. So I say let X as an element of U, then X must be either X an element of T or X element of A. This is saying is that in the universal set, any object, any being, any entity, any element, these are all meaning the same thing. Somebody hears the word being, they think it must be a person. No, a being is an element. If I say a being in a set, that just means number one could be that. If I say the set of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 are beings in the set. It's a little bit more metaphysical, I get that, but it's not incorrect. Generally, we'll say that 1, 2, 3 are elements or members of the set. I don't know any distinction between elements and members. Maybe Josh does, but as far as I've read, they mean the exact same thing. There's literally no distinction between saying X is an element of you as opposed to X is a member of you. The only distinction is that the epsilon little symbol here means element of, and it's a Greek E. So here I just define that as set builder notation. Basically, it's similar to set builder notation. Means in the set of A, means X is in the element of U, which means it's in the universe, but it's not a theist. So this is just saying that an atheist is anything that's not a theist by axiomatic set theory. This literally is what atheists are saying, that atheism is the same set of not theism. They're equivalent sets. Anything that's not a theist is an atheist. That's what they keep telling me. This proves them wrong. This literally is a proof. You can't just hand wave it away, guys. This is what I'm saying. Atheists have huge cognitive dissonance, huge psychological issues if they cannot grasp the problem here. Because if they can't apply simple logic here, how do they apply it in anything else in their lives? How do they understand physics? How do they understand math? How do they understand biology? How do they understand any subject that requires critical thinking if they don't have the fundamentals of logic down? I don't get it. I really don't. This is not complicated stuff. This is first week logic kind of stuff. This is year 1, maybe year 2. I don't know. Josh would tell you, but I think it's level 100. Most of my proofs go up to level 200, 300 max. It's all undergrad stuff. It's not master's level. You don't have to have a master's degree to understand this stuff. Any undergrad would be able to understand this, no problem. Josh looked at it and just did it in his head in just simple time. Oh yeah, look, this is correct. I mean, this is his bread and butter. He knows this stuff like the back of his hand. He can read it like we read English. Just, yeah, boom, 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 correct, KK says, I don't get it either. I'm half asleep and it makes sense to me. Yeah, I thank you, KK. It's not that complicated. Let's go through it. Now, I set my variables. And I say, let U equals the universal set of all entities. That's pretty typical in philosophy. That's just saying everything that exists. Set of atheist, right? And again, I defer back to here to guys show you the back here what it's redefined as. Set of atheist. Set of sentient beings capable of holding beliefs. Okay. This is just something that I put forward as my own premise, right? Definitions. A theist A theist is somebody who's in the set of theist, which means that they are sentient being, they're an element of sentience, and believes that God exists. Okay, I think that's correct. I mean, if you're a sentient being and you, again, we're gonna be talking prescriptively for this argument, not descriptively. I'm not a prescriptivist, but for the sake of the argument, because this is a logical proof, let's just go with prescriptivism. Anybody who believes God exists and is sentient, which obviously I think is coextensive, right? If you believe something, you have to be sentient. A sentient being cannot believe something. So I think there's a coextensive thing there, but I still put it explicitly here. So to be a theist, you have to be a sentient and believe there's a God. And I do recognize that believing in God infers sentience. But again, I'm breaking it down to the new atheists out there that don't understand these basic concepts, apparently. So I say, if X is an atheist, then X is a sentient being and believes in God. Okay. Atheist. X is in atheism, and X is a sentient being and does not believe in God. Does not believe God exists. Now, again, their definition. I'm not saying an atheist believes anything. I'm saying an atheist doesn't believe here. This is their definition. If X is an atheist, then X is a sentient being and does not, and I should put does not believe God exists. Josh, you missed this. You proofread this for me, but he's checking out the logic, so I'll give him that. That's my fault. It should be X is atheist, sentient being. God does not believe God exists. And since I'm here right now, I'm just going to fix this real quick. If you guys give me a second, bear with me. I can do this in real time. Then I'll just refresh. And while I'm here, I might as well put the definition down. It's from Oxford. One sec. All right, I've done that. Let me refresh. Josh says I wasn't an English major. Oh, no, that's funny. That's good. Okay, I'll give you that one. JCO says I have to watch this over and over. Multitasking at work. Yes, please watch this again. You'll like this one, man. Seriously. All right. So I've added the definition here. And then let's go back down to here. What does this disbelief say? Yeah, see, this is weird. Has unable to believe, has no faith in God, but these are not typical definitions, right? For what we're talking about logic. If you look at the definition of disbelief in logic, it is believes God does not exist. Obviously, unable to believe doesn't mean what we can have the connotation of disbelief, right? If I say I disbelieve P, it doesn't mean I'm unable to believe it. It just means I don't. So you got to remember, words have different senses, right? You got to be careful of that. So I'm probably going to take those links out because somebody's going to go there and go, oh, look, disbelieves means unable to believe. Well, yeah, but you're going to argue that a theist is somebody who's unable to believe there's no God. Are you going to argue that an atheist is somebody who's unable to believe there's a God? That makes no sense. All right. So definitions. X is an atheist, and X is a sentient being and does not believe God exists. This, by the way, is a bidirectional angle. It's arrow. It's called a double arrow. It just means if this condition is met, then this is true. If this condition is met, then this is true. Okay. It's more than it's a double implication, is what it is essentially. Usually, you have this implies this. This just means that this implies this, and it can go either way. All right, not theist. X is an element of U and T. Goes back to the fact that if you're in the universal set and you're not a theist, you must be a non-theist, not a theist or non-theist. You know, I don't like the way I worded that though. I don't like the way I worded that. I'm just going to change that. I'm just going to put non-theist there. I want to make sure this is, perfect. sec. One sec. We'll put because I want to define a non-theist. Non-theist. All right, updated. And refresh. All right. Now I think it reads better. Hey, what's up, Kafi? Kafi? How's it been, man? It's been a long time. Love this stuff. He says, man, you're up early today. Yeah, I am up early today. Got stuff to do, so up early. All right. Now let's look at the proof. Assume for contradiction that A equals UT, which is part of my initial assumptions. Given the initial assumption of A prime, where U's complementary set A, where A is representing A prime and T is representing A. That just goes back to my initial assumptions. Consider any entity, and I call that R, because I use R as dummy variables. Usually when you have a hypothetical syllogism, you have like P, Q, and R. So I just picked R because it was a hypothetical syllogism, but it's a rock. So that works out great, right? So it's a rock and a hypothetical syllogism. I thought that worked perfectly for R because it works for both R and for a third atomic proposition. So I say where R is an element, or not an element of S, where because rocks are not sentient, correct? We all agree that, I hope. Unless you're a panpsychic, with somebody who believes in panpsychism, like what's his name from Twitter that I talk to occasionally. What's his name? Geoff, the professor, well-known professor that argues panpsychism, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. His theories are pretty complicated, and so I will ask him questions, and I don't even understand his answers. But whatever. But I think people agree that rocks are not sentient, right? Rocks are not in the set of sentience. For all of X, this is, again, we've discussed that. This is just a quantifier, existential quantifier for all of X. X is not an element of S and implies that X is not an element of A from the definition of atheist. All this means is that for all of X, if X is not sentient, X is not an atheist by definition that we had earlier. Rocks are not sentient. Therefore, rocks are not atheist. A rock being not sentient, being a rock does not believe God exists. Being an atheist requires sentience. Therefore, a rock is not an atheist. Okay. I mean, again, this is just a very formal way of saying rocks are an atheist, which, again, I've had a lot of atheists tell me, except for Aron Ra. He believes rocks are atheist, which is not a defeater of this argument. But for the atheist out there that says rocks are not atheist, then you've proven that atheist and non-atheist are not the same set size. You've proven it. You've just by saying that. If you say that rocks are not atheist and atheists are not theists, then rocks cannot be in the set of not theist. Or rock can't be in the set of if you say rocks are atheist because rocks are non-theist, then let me see here. Wait. Yeah, I lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. If rocks are in the set of non-theist, and then you say non-theist is the same set of atheist, but you say rocks are not atheist, then you got a contradiction. Think about that. If an atheist says rocks are in the set of not theist is the same set side as atheist, then anything in that set of atheists must be a rock. If you say rocks are not atheist, you have a contradiction. Because you've already established that they're in the set of not theist, and if they're equal sets, then anything in the set of not theist has to be in the set of atheist, right? There you go, simple. He does math. He does math, folks. He can't English well. He doesn't do good English. All right, moving on. From steps 2 and 3. Yeah. I haven't got that far yet. 3, however, rocks as an element of U of T because rocks are an element in the universe. Rocks exist. Rocks are not theist, as rocks are not sentient, and all theists must be sentient. Therefore, rocks are an element of U, but not T. Right? I'm just explaining this, right? I'm not even trying to prove that rocks are not theists. I'm just explaining, however, why rocks is an element of two because this, right? Because of this, rocks are an element of U and T, but they're not theists. A rock is a non-theist because rock is a universal set and a rock is not a central being. All theists must be sentient, therefore rocks are not theists. And again, this is right here, non-theist, right? Rocks are not theists. This is what I've defined to be non-theist right here, non-theists, correct? Number 4 from steps 2 and 3. Dang it. I have a hard time scrolling because it scrolls so badly on the screen. There's like 3 or 4 lines. All right. Rocks are an element of non-theist, and rocks are not an element of atheist. Okay. A rock is a non-theist and not an atheist. This is a contradiction of as X is an element of U, X is not an element of T. So, saying X is an element of U, it must be in T or A. So I need to fix this. I need to bring this down, which I can do real quick. Got this in real time. 1 sec. I don't know how that got messed up there. I had that right, and somehow it messed up. There you go. It should look like that. So I'm just saying that from 2 and 3, rocks are an element of non-theist, but rocks are not atheist. But this is a contradiction. The reason this is a contradiction is because X as an element of U, but not a theist, it must be in T or A. But I've already established that it's not in T or A from up here. I prove that rocks are not atheist, right? And I prove that rocks are not theist here. And from steps 2 and 3, a rock is not a non-theist and a non-atheist. So if rocks are not a theist and not an atheist and not a theist, because this rocks, right? Atheism must be, an atheist must be something who exists and is not a theist. Then if X is in U, it must be a theist or an atheist. So I have a contradiction here. See can you guys see the contradiction? Philip Geoff, yeah, Chris. Philip Geoff is arguing for panpsychism. Yeah, exactly. Very smart dude. And I'm not against panpsychism, but because it does resolve some problems, but it's very, very complicated, and it sounds like woo, but unfortunately, it does resolve some problems, right? So, but I just want to make sure you guys can see this contradiction, or if you think I should make it even more clear. I think it's pretty clear. Josh thinks it's clear. I think it's clear. But I mean, the only thing I would put in is that from steps 2 and 3, well, I really can't because I'm doing a proof here, right? From steps 2 and 3, this is from step 3, and this is from step 2. I mean, I can include, I guess, maybe just to make it even better, that way I define it as theist. Well, I know it's right here. All theists must be sentient, right? So I don't think I really need to be any more explicit. A rock is a non-theist and not an atheist. I mean, should I put it here and not atheist so I can get to the conclusion better, Josh, you think? Is that just so somebody doesn't lose their mind? Because I can say this. Let me see. Maybe word this just a little bit better. X. Let's see. All right, I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to take a kind of a lazy way out. Josh, let me see if this works better. I could probably even simplify this. Rocks. Not. Yeah, you know what? I like simplicity. I'm going to do it this way. No, I guess this works better. Josh, does this look better? One sec. Dang it. There we go. Let me ask Josh here. Does that look better here on my final step? God damn. I put it this from steps 2 and 3. Rock is an element of U, and rock is not an element A and not an element of T. And that's by 2, 3, and assumptions. Yeah, it would be redundant, but it'd be clarifying for some. Yeah, I think that this clarifies it much better. Yeah, see, it keeps changing my last one whenever I edit. Weird. Let me fix that. So I think this reads a little clearer. A rock is a non-theist, non-atheist, and not theist. Not an atheist and not a theist. I could have proven that it's not or assumed in the proof that I could have shown that it's not a theist, but I don't think I need to explicitly do that. It's not necessary. I just do it from assumptions. Makes the proof shorter that way. So let me update this. There we go. So here we go. A rock is a non-theist, is non-atheist, and not a theist. Therefore, this is a contradiction of A is an element of U and X is an element of T. This means that all atheists must exist in the universe and must not be a theist. But this is a contradiction, because if X is in U, it must be a theist or an atheist. But here, a rock is neither an atheist nor a theist. This is a contradiction. Therefore, our initial assumption must be false. There's the proof. Conclusion: not theist, the set of entities that are not theist, is not the same set as atheist, the set of sentient beings who do not believe in God. QED, which is Latin for what's quad erat destro. God dang it! I hate pronouncing it. I have to think quad erat demonstratium. Is that how you pronounce it, Josh? I hate Latin. Quad. I'm thinking here. Quad erat. Yeah, EART. Quad erat demonstratium. I'm going to learn how to pronounce that perfectly one of these days. I have problems pronouncing Latin. I know what it is, obviously. I just, Copy says, I understand you're never wasting your time now, but have you ever called into one of the ACA lines of the line to share? Okay, first of all, I never called the line because Jimmy Snow is the Mr. Atheist is one of the most dishonest people I've ever met in my entire life. He is absolutely a dishonest person, and I will never have anything to do with him ever again. An outright liar. Just outright liar. Scumbag. And then ACA, the problems they have with ACA. And what would they do? They wouldn't understand my logic, right? I mean, if I can't get lack of belief atheists to understand the logic when I'm doing my show here, how am I going to call in the ACA and describe it to them over the telephone line? Now, other people can. I mean, I've had people call. I think you've called in, Kathy. Haven't you called in the ACA with my argument before? Anybody can. Feel free. I don't even care if you credit me or not. Because if you mention my name, they'll hang up on you and they're going to, badmouth me. But feel free to. I mean, I like attestation. So if you want to mention, hey, Steve McRae has a new argument proving by logic that the set of atheists is not the set of non-theists, which has nothing to do with atheism, the belief or lack of belief, has nothing to do with it, really. I mean, except for the assumptions. I'm going by the Oxford definition of atheist. And you ask them, hey, are rocks atheists? And they say no, then my proof is valid and sound and proves that they're wrong about atheist and not theist being the same set size. If they say rocks are atheist, then you're like, well, the definition is a person who disbelieves or lack of beliefs in the existence of God. A rock is not a person. How can a rock be an atheist? And they'll go, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they'll either change their position or say, well, that definition is wrong. Anything could be an atheist. Well, if that definition is wrong, why are you saying the definition for atheism in Oxford, which Google uses is atheism, the disbelief or lack of belief in God? Then I can say that definition is wrong, right? If you're going to say the definition is wrong for atheist, then I can say the definition is wrong for atheism. Two can play that game, right? Same as set size as sounds wrong. I think you're right. I might have to change that. Same as set size. By the way, this is why I do like doing these things live, because I get little things like that. It's not the same. Yeah, you're right. Let me just word that a little better. Hey, look, Josh is not an English major. Okay, give the guy a break. Give the guy a break, man. He does math. Conclusion is not the same set size. Does this work better for you, man? Does that work better? Conclusion: non-theist. The set of entities are not theist. The same as it should be. Non-theist is not the same. Not the same. God dang it! Same set size. Non-theist is not the same set size as atheists. Does that work better for you? Not theist is not the same set size as atheist. There you go. That works. That works. I've called in. Oh, let me bring this up. I've called in a few times with your argument as well. Yeah, and they just don't understand it. Yeah. I was just curious if you have a call maybe in the early days. No, I've never called in the ACA. But feel free to call in the Atheist Experience. Don't call the line. I have nothing to do with that show. Just don't. I mean, in my opinion, it's just me. I wouldn't have anything personally to do with it. You mentioned my name on that, they're going to hang up on you instantly. At least with the ACA, some of them may not even know who I am. Most probably do. But yeah, go ahead. Call in. But I'll give you a shorter version to call in, man. This is a short version, right? Because I wanted to do it compactified, I guess, so to speak. Short version. Non-theist is not the same set size as atheist due to sentience of members. Proof. 1. Non-theist is defined as atheist. Theist, sentient beings. These are the exact same thing, right? These are my same exact assumptions. I have the same complementary set relationships, right? Same exact ones. Very simple. Here's the proof, a compactified proof. I think this one. Yeah, I don't do good English either. Look, I have terrible pronunciation. I know this. I have a friend of mine, Aron Ra. He always leaves messages on my YouTube channel. It's pronounced this way, and I appreciate it. He's the only one allowed to do that, by the way. Don't correct unless you're a friend of mine and you're doing it out of respect. Don't correct me, to mock me, because people know I do have a speech impediment and I do take that personally. But if you're really sincere about it, as I know he is, then absolutely, yeah, I want to know how to pronounce this correctly. It's still very difficult for me to pronounce certain words. It always has been. I went to speech therapy for years. This is no joke. So I don't good English either sometimes. All right, so let's look at the proof. Assume for contradiction that this is not theist. That's all it's saying. Consider an entity R where R is not sentient, like a rock. Since rocks are sentient and all of entities, everything that exists must be that is not sentient cannot be an atheist from the definition of atheist. Rocks are not an atheist. Okay, so since rocks are not sentient, rocks are not an atheist. That's all this is saying. However, rocks being non-theist, because rocks are something that exists, and rocks are not a theist, as rocks are not sentient, and all theists must be sentient. So this is saying that rocks are not theists because rocks exist, and they're not a theist. That's all that's saying. That's all compactified. From steps 2 and 3, we get a contradiction. Rocks, I don't even need to add 4 in here. I mean, it's just rocks are not theists and rocks are not an atheist. And if rocks exist in the universe, they must be a theist or an atheist. But here, rocks are not theist. This itself proves. I don't even have to, I went to the other one and I clarified it even more, but I don't really even need to. I don't need to define theism here. And I don't need to put it here because this already shows it's not theist. Rocks is not a theist and is not an atheist. That's a contradiction from 2 and 3. Like I said, I didn't even need to go back. I don't even need to change it here to be more explicit. It doesn't make it right or wrong. But I mean, this I think clarifies it better. But let me ask Josh, should I have left it as I had it before? Or do you think it's better if I put steps 2 and 3 with assumptions here? Just for clarification, because you write proofs, which one do you think is better? This one where it's a little more clear to the reader, but is a little less needed. And so if it was an actual proof that I would submit to, like, for a class or something like that, I wouldn't have done it this way. I would have done it my other way because it's simpler. And I think if you in proof writing, the simpler is the better, right? Is that the rule of thumb? Less is better if you can compactify it and make it, just bare bones what you need for the most part. But by doing that, I lose some intelligibility for the non-theist, or it should be the rock theist. Okay, I agree, Josh. It's probably way better for the reader. I'll have it like this up here, but in my short version, I don't need it. So that works out well, because my longer version is a little more has a little more explanation. All right, so we get a contradiction, because now rocks are not theist or atheist. This contradicts the assumption that rocks must be something that exists, that are not theist. So if X is in U, X exists, it must be theist or atheist. Therefore, our initial assumption that non-theist is defined as atheist must be false. Boom, QED. QED, people. Where's the problem there, lack theist? Where's the error in my proof? I'm not talking about atheism. I'm not talking about whether atheism is the belief there's a God or not belief there's a God. I don't mention that even in here, right? Except for the very only initial conditions, right? So I guess I do mention it, but I use your definitions. Using your definitions, there's a contradiction. Using your definitions, is it a category error? You can't escape that. You can't just hand wave that away. This is your definition of a theist. This is your definition of an atheist. How would you define sentience? Something with the ability to apprehend their surroundings, right? I mean, how else would you define it, right? If you have the ability to have qualia, if you can sense things, perceive things, experience things, if you have emotions, all that requires sentience. Google definition says both atheists and non-theists are people. I would assume people include sentient beings. Correct. So by definition, if you're going to be prescriptivist, like atheists tend to be, or I should specifically say rock atheist or new atheist trademark, which is something I didn't come up with, or the ACA atheist, right? The Atheist Community of Austin atheist. Their definition: a person who disbelieves or lack of beliefs in the existence of God or gods. Okay, this is their definition, right? A person. So if you call up to the atheist experience, say, okay, would you agree that an atheist, by definition, according to Google, is a person who disbelieves or lack of belief in gods or God exist? They have two answers they can say. No, that's a bad definition. Okay, why? That I don't even know why they would say that. Well, why is that a bad definition? It's either or. It's conjunction. If you disbelieve in God, you lack a belief. So that clearly, even by their own definition of a necessary condition of merely lacking a belief, that statement holds true because it has that sufficiency condition. Normally, lack of belief is merely a necessary condition. It's not a sufficiency condition. The sufficiency condition for atheism is a person who believes there's no God, according to philosophy, as standard. But I'm not even arguing that in this particular argument. So why would they say this? Why would they say this definition is bad? So if they say, yes, we agree with that, then you can say, okay, a rock is not a person, correct? And they'll be like, yes. So a rock cannot be an atheist, correct? And they'll be like, oh, well, that's a stupid. You guys are just arguing what Aron Ra and rocks are atheists and this stupid argument. But they're missing the point when they start doing that. So you just have to bring them back on track. It's a script they have. I mean, I've done this a million times, so I already can predict how they're going to answer, probably, So I can say, or you can say, look, rocks are not people. Rock is not a person. Therefore, a rock cannot be an atheist. Therefore, the set of atheists and the set of non-theists cannot be the same set size, because you have rocks that are in the set of non-theists, but you have rocks that are not in the set of atheists. And if you say atheism and non-theists are the same set, then you have a contradiction. And the problem is they're not going to understand that. They're not going to understand the logic. It's simple logic. It's simple reasoning. But think about this. If they can understand that simple reasoning, that if X is, I'll just even break it down further. X is in B, and X is not in A, then A and B cannot be the same set size. It's simple as that. If X is an element of A and X is not a element of B, then A and B cannot be the same set size. One is a proper subset of the other, possibly, but they're not the same set size. A proper subset means that a set is a smaller set of the superset. So if I have the set 1, 2, 3, and I have the set 1, 2, then 1, 2 is a subset, proper subset of 1, 2, 3. So if I have A equals 1, 2, 3 as a set, B equals 1, 2 as a set, B is a subset of A. But if I say A equals the set of 1, 2, 3, B is the set of 1, 2, 3, B is no longer a proper subset of A. You have to use a different symbol for it in set theory. So just right there, they've proven that atheist and not theist are not the same thing. So therefore, you can have you can have things that are not atheist, they're not theist, that are not an atheist. They're not the same set size. And if you do that, then you can do the same thing with atheism, obviously. You can have people that exist that are not atheist, but are non-theist. They're not the same set size. Because I am not a theist, but I'm not an atheist. Because they're claiming that anybody who's not an atheist, they're claiming that anybody who's not an atheist, God damn it, I'm sorry. Anybody who's not a theist, who's in the set of not theist, must be an atheist. But that's clearly not true. Because they're different set sizes. Now, they could argue that any person who is sentient is a non-theist, can be an atheist. Okay, I'll grant them that. I'll grant them that. But they're going to have to think about that. They're going to have to do the work on that one. But it's still a different set size. It proves that everything that's not a theist is not necessarily an atheist. But according to their definition, everything must be an atheist or theist. Everything, including rocks. So the problem they run into is by defining things the way they are, they've locked themselves into logic. They've locked themselves into set theory, and that doesn't care about your feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings. If you lock yourself into saying that non-theist and atheist are the same exact set size, then you have to say rocks are atheist. But this proves that rocks can't be atheist by definition, because to have atheist, you have to be a person. That's a reductio ad absurdum. That's a contradiction. So my proof shows that using their definitions, there's a contradiction. There's a contradiction when you say non-theist is the same set as atheist, and all things that are not theist must be atheist. There's a contradiction that is implied there. You cannot get out of that contradiction, people. I proved it. If you think you can, show me how. Show me how you get out of that contradiction using set theory, basic set theory. You know how many people are going to try to do that? Probably none. Do you know how many people will succeed? I don't think any. Because when you start changing things around like that, there's things that happen. There's consequences for making stuff up. And so this is why in philosophy, non-theist does not necessarily entail atheist. A non-theist is just anything that isn't a theist in set theory. So in the universal set, you have the set of duck, not duck, cat, not cat, theist, not theist, atheist, not atheist. There's nowhere in philosophy where it says, oh, I'm going to take theist and not theist and just redefine, well, not even redefine, relabel not theist as atheist. Because now I have a weird dichotomy of theist or atheist is true, which is a false disjunction there. The law of negation isn't A or B is true. It's A or not A. So the law of negation of A or not A, which is always true by definition, right? A or not A equals true. I usually use a triple bar there because it's more stronger than equality sign. So if you see like 3 bars, that's a stronger equivalence, because again, equal sign just means an equivalence of sets. But 3 bars means mainly by definition, I guess you can say. You're defining it to be the way. You're making this a strict relationship. So if I say A or not A, triple bar T, that means that is a strong, strict dichotomy that there's nothing that exists that is either not in A or not in A prime. Everything must be one or the other. Duck or not duck, cat or not cat, theist or not theist. Now, if I just label not theist as atheist, now I have this weird dichotomy. Theist or atheist is always true. Okay, you can't derive that from first order principles. You can't derive that from basic principles. That's just semantic substitution. You're just relabeling non-theist and you're calling that atheist. Okay, then anything that was originally in the set of non-theist is now an atheist. Rocks were originally in the set of non-theist. Now they're atheist. But by definition, they can't be an atheist because an atheist is a person. You've just now made a contradiction by relabeling non-theist as atheist. You've now have a contradiction. I rest my case. Aron Ra would say flat out that rocks are atheists, but after being exposed by McRae, he attempted to retract by saying rocks are atheistic, as that solves the problem. Exactly. That's exactly. He did backtrack on that a little bit. Then I think he went back, though. But atheistic still requires a disposition, right? Atheistic is a intentional state. And when I say intentional with a T, not an S, that means there's a object that has something doing something to something else. Like if I say I believe X, that means a object is doing the believing. It's an intentional verb. Something is doing the believing. So atheistic means you're something is having an epistemic disposition towards something. So I would say that there's an intentionality with atheistic. Not to be confused with intentionality with an S, which means something completely different in set theory. There's intentional and extensional sets. And if you really want to care the difference, if you ever see it, intentional with an S means that something would be like all of the presidents. All the presidents describes all the presidents that ever existed, right? An extensional set is if I listed every single president. They're equivalent sets, right? If I just say all the presidents, or if I list each one, if I enumerate each president, then those are equivalent sets. You see, the one is intentional with an S. One is extensional. That's the difference, right? And what is there? 46 presidents? Yeah. Biden is the 46th president, right? So if I enumerated 46 presidents and I say this is the set of presidents, or I just say all of the presidents, those mean the exact same thing. They're equivalent sense, but one is intentional with an S, one is extensional. So get to learn a little logic here. So that's why I did this little video to begin with. So anyways, it's an hour. I'm going to wrap it up because I want this to be simple. I don't want it to go too long. I could do an after show later if you want to ask some questions, but I just want this particular video to be under an hour. So thank you guys for watching. I think I've proven my case. Atheist Community of Austin, you are wrong. Aron Ra, you are wrong. Matt Dillahunty, you are wrong. If you think I'm wrong, prove it with logic. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time if you're going to say some stupid stuff. Show me with logic I'm wrong by your own definitions, and I guarantee it that most of them aren't even going to try. So I'm going to leave you guys. Thanks, KK says this was well thought out and really simple. To be honest, it's kind of saddening that we have to really break things down to show why not theist is not the same as atheist. I agree, KK. I agree, my buddy. All right, thank you guys for watching. Please share this video. Share my argument. The link is in the video description. Post it everywhere. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Get it out there. Tell them they're wrong. Get it all over Facebook in the atheist communities. This is Steve's argument, because when I do it, people balk and they say stupid stuff, and then a lot of times my posts get deleted. But if you guys start doing it, then maybe they'll take more of an interest. Maybe if other people start saying, "Hey, look, Steve's right on this," and show them, you'll see what I have to deal with. You'll be like, "Hey, Steve's right on this. Show why he's wrong." You'll be getting, "Oh, you guys are just theists." Well, KK is a theist, but they'll just say, "Oh, you're a theist. You're wrong by fiat," or "You don't know what you're talking about." Okay, show the logic. All right. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.